House Speaker Kevin McCarthy is making waves using new powers that he has as Speaker to release what is government evidence to a single source. Fox News' Tucker Carlson getting 40,000 plus hours of Capitol surveillance footage from the insurrection. If that itself sounds odd, it is odd. Government sources do release material to the press, sometimes to a single source in the press, but objective journalists usually do the reporting first, then release fact-checked reports on what, if anything, that material they got shows. The whole rollout here is the opposite. McCarthy apparently trying to signal something by pre-announcing all of this in advance, that he gave this just to Carlson, who is a media figure who's been downplaying and misleading about the insurrection. And Carlson's already suggesting a kind of pre-cooked partisan narrative about this material, which obviously he has not been able to physically review most of it yet, telling viewers he thinks the new videos will contradict the story about the insurrection.
Some of our smartest producers have been there, looking at this stuff and trying to figure out what it means and how it contradicts or not the story that we've been told for more than 2 years. We think already that in some ways it does contradict that story.
Okay. He already thinks that. Carlson's claiming that he will be doing research and telling viewers what he found, that he would tell them his honest take. But he failed to do exactly that in the very related story of the election lies that fed the insurrection. And that's been in the news on a case we've been covering before it even yielded secret bombshells. We've been covering this defamation case for a while. Now, you probably noticed it is back in the news because these secret Fox texts leaked, which Carlson clearly wasn't expecting. Damning evidence that comes out of that voting company's case. And it shows Tucker Carlson knew Trump's election lies were bogus, but he and colleagues promoted them anyway. And we have the receipts. When Tucker Carlson and Laura Ingraham thought no one could hear them, the mask dropped. And they were secretly lamenting to each other how Trump's top election lawyer was lying about how they had lost the election, which eventually stoked the insurrection, which Carlson now says he'll be reviewing on tape. Here is exactly what happened. Tucker Carlson wrote Ingraham, Trump's lawyer Sidney Powell is lying, adding, "I caught her. It's insane." He's crystal clear that Trump's team was wrong. They weren't pushing some legitimate argument or asking for a court process. They were lying in a, quote, insane way, as he put it. And Ingraham privately responds that the same Trump lawyer is a, quote, complete nut. No one will work with her. Ditto with Giuliani. And then Carlson goes on to lament how his viewers were being duped by all this, writing, quote, "Our viewers are good people." And they believe it. That exact Trump lawyer, Sidney Powell, who was unknown to most news viewers before she joined Trump in 2020. And Laura Ingraham was the one putting Powell on air, affirming her claims in that critical and tense post-election period. And Ingraham could have objectively dealt with the claims or had Powell on and challenged her. But let me show you exactly what she did. Boy, does this matter. Ingraham used her Fox influence to publicly agree and claim she hoped the feds were following Powell's demands. And again, with all due respect, in Ingraham's mind, she's talking about nutcase Powell. She's going on air to the person that we now know she secretly and thought would forever stay secret, derided as a, quote, complete nut.
This is coup 5.0. And
Sydney,
the Department of Justice and the FBI really need to get after it right now and investigate all the reports of fraud. There are hundreds of them.
Yeah, well, I hope Attorney General Barr is doing that. Very, very hopeful that he's doing that. Otherwise, we're in big trouble as a country, especially with elections going forward.
What do you hear there? It's the sound of two people who are not telling the truth. Ms. Powell lying about the election and her boss lost, and Ingraham lying about her own, quote, hopes. Oh, the DOJ should pursue conspiracy theories from someone that she thought was a complete nut. No one will work with her, except apparently Laura Ingraham, working with her to launder her conspiracy theories on air. The texts prove Ingraham didn't hope that. She clearly hoped Powell would at least go away. But Laura Ingraham was still willing to mislead her viewers and the nation in the meantime. Now, this evidence hits many layers of Fox. Multiple people viewed Trump's 2020 election lies as, quote, total BS, mind-blowingly nuts, reckless, effing lunatics off the rails. That's all from inside the Fox empire, every single damning quote. And the only reason this evidence is public right now is that Dominion Voting Systems has basically won the first rounds procedurally to get evidence in the case. They have discovery. They have a treasure trove of what would have remained secret texts, emails, evidence. So now the case is also using that evidence to press people. Take Sean Hannity, who's basically admitted the same doubt about that Trump lawyer's claims and says he didn't believe it for a second.
They used the machines to trash large batches of votes that should have been awarded to President Trump. And they used a machine to inject and add massive quantities of votes for Mr. Biden.
Inject those Biden votes. Hannity says under oath he didn't believe it. Then you go up to the top, where the really powerful people, you don't usually see them on TV. The billionaires, most of them, they're laying in the cut. Rupert Murdoch doing billionaire things. But he did email about Rudy Giuliani when he first began touting those fraud claims and said, this is really crazy stuff, damaging everybody. What's legally damning for the case is the evidence shows that those people, I just showed you some of the evidence, they knew this was all crap at the time. That's usually a hard thing to prove. Now, any network can interview all kinds of people, including liars. The legal test is the high bar of whether Fox was maliciously pushing and joining the lies. Fox arguing the lawsuit is trying to punish them for reporting on a big and newsworthy story. That's their defense. Tucker Carlson later called out Sidney Powell, discussing off-air in an article concerns about the evidence, although lately he's been defending the entire insurrection. In general, journalists do cover all sides of stories. Dominion, though, also has receipts suggesting Fox wasn't trying to just cover the newsworthy stories. They were making a business play to pander to Trump's fans, who sometimes were switching away from Fox to more right-wing outlets that were offering the alternative of simply lying about the entire election results, ignoring Biden's victory. Again, from the case, a top Fox executive says the weak ratings were compromising their good Fox colleagues. Quote, weak ratings make good journalists do bad things. Now, again, that's all in court. Then there's the larger issue, the very conduct that these journalists stand accused of at Fox, or media personalities, or whatever you think of them as, are peddling that allegation across the board against others, as Hannity does. Sean Hannity sees a world where media people blatantly lie to their viewers about things they don't believe for a second, as he put it. A cynicism that may come from his own confession, and which, again, puts media attacks in a different light.
Almost all so-called journalists on other network and cable news shows, they're liberal socialist Democrats. They're an extension of all things the new Green Deal radical socialists. They are biased, they are partisan, they are political operatives. They pretend their opinions are actually facts, and they're not. They even sometimes refer to themselves as, quote, fact checkers that need a fact checking.
I wanted you to hear that because it didn't sound good the first time, the second time, or any number of times. Here's a fact check. Trump lost the election. No court found voter fraud to change that outcome. And Sean Hannity didn't believe the election conspiracy theories that he helped promote, not for 1 second. Then there's Tucker Carlson, now sifting through the January 6th footage, working to promote and lie about the very conspiracy theories that he said he caught and called out privately as lies in 2020. Like Hannity. This is where it's all so full circle. It is actually wild to behold. I want you to really take this in. This is why we've prepared this for you. Like Sean Hannity, Tucker Carlson has long lectured the rest of the media on transgressions which sound so personal, so emotional. One wonders if they are a kind of projection confession.
All of us lie from time to time. That's the human condition. But imagine.
Now, Tucker got caught this time facing his own lies. As Drake once described, feel like Joel Santana, leg hanging out the phantom. I don't take this for granted. I do my own propaganda. Well, Fox has been doing a lot of propaganda. The receipts show their own executives admitted, as we told you, because they don't take the money for granted. They'll spout lies for ratings. They appear to be in on that premise. And Tucker does his own propaganda, where lies are truth and his viewers are the information victims, and it's all fine with him as long as he stays on top. Tucker was right about one thing. It is insane, quote unquote. And it's clear that on this set of stories, you're not going to get his honest views by watching his broadcast or by listening to him in public. Apparently, you need a lawsuit or a subpoena to claw out the truth. Some of these truths cannot be buried. They may cost Fox News far more than the shows spouting election lies ever made in advertising, which is one way the courts patrol the outer limits on defamation in our business society. Now, we put this together for you tonight because I can only tell you what I think and what we learn from the evidence, which shows the truth still matters. One proof point of that is how far so many powerful people will go to try to hide the truth, because they're worried in the long run it will have real-world impacts, that you and others will hear about it and act on it. The longer these cases go, the defamation cases against the Fox empire, the more that this stuff comes out, the more the world will see what looks like a propaganda game and see in a different light what I showed you tonight, these pretty wild media projection confessions by Fox hosts. And in a free market of ideas, and this is the good silver lining, I promise you, in our free market of ideas, people can still decide who they listen to, whom they believe, what they want to think for themselves. And on this topic, believe it or not, tonight, in this segment, Mr. Carlson gets the last word on whether people can possibly keep believing the lies.
Imagine forcing yourself to tell lies all day about everything in ways that were so transparent and so outlandish that there is no way the people listening to you could possibly believe anything you said. Then imagine doing that again and again and again every day of your professional life for your entire life.